No.
Hey, that's a promotion the way I look at it. I was a warrant, WO1, better known as a wobbly one. I was fresh out of flight school. I was the lowest form of officer life. So I wasn't senior to anybody. When the big standoff happened, I thank God that everybody played cool and nobody started shooting. I really do, because the actions I took that day, I didn't volunteer to do that. I felt I was in a cage. Innocent people were getting harmed, and there was just nothing else I could do. I had tried talking. I tried asking. I tried screaming. None of that was working. So it was the only thing we could do, because to me, that wasn't war. It wasn't combat. It was premeditated murder. And that's not what our military forces do.
Being a witness to it, it wouldn't have mattered what the rank was. It could have been the commander-in-chief, and he still would have taken him on.
Larry, when Hugh landed the helicopter, what were his orders to you?
Cover me. And then he had a confrontation with the lieutenant because of our lack of communication with people on the ground. He physically had to land the aircraft, go over and speak to him or scream at him, whichever the case may be. I don't know what he said to the lieutenant, but when he came back past the aircraft, Glenn Andreatta and myself were outside the aircraft, protecting it, watching Mr. Thompson, watching the civilians in the bunker, watching the tree line, watching everything we could. And he said, he came back to the aircraft, said, I'm going over to the bunker myself. I'm going to get the people out myself. If anybody opens up on them when I'm getting them out of the bunker, shoot them. And then he walked away.
How old were you then?
I was 18.
I was an old man. I was 24, I think. Larry Coburn was 8. Most of our people were, 18 years old. Our officers had to be, I think, 18. But a lot of them went through flight school at 17 and were held over until they reached 18th birthday to go. It's an experience that I wish I hadn't been there. I just trying to say certain things will make y'all think how important you are. And I'd always heard an old cliche or something that you can make a difference. Yeah, that's right. Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, you can make a difference. Never, never forget that. You can make a difference. Do it. Sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. In Vietnam, it was true that a lot of the Viet Cong would strap bombs to babies, and like some of the women would like set up booby traps for the GIs. And now, like we see in Iraq, that there's civilians the same way. Iraqis be on cell phones or drive motorcycles past checkpoints, and it's hard for like the Marines and soldiers to kind of distinguish like who's good and bad. As future Navy and Marine Corps officers, how would you tell us how we could like deal with that?
You've got one very hard job and a whole lot of responsibility. I am not a peacenik by any chance. I never have been. The Army trained me basically to kill people, and I was very good at what I was trained to do. There is a difference in killing someone as your enemy and what happened at My Lai. You have a very hard job. Nobody said it was going to be easy. That's why your training, your knowledge, your information of what's going on has to be accurate. I would not want to be in your position, young man, I'm telling you. Captain Medina in the video kind of indicated that. I'm not naive. I I would assume that 2-year-old and 3-year-olds were booby-trapped. Thank God I never saw one. But it's a known fact it does happen. You cannot let revenge come in your mind. That's what went on that day, part of it. And because, killing every 3-year-old is not going to stop the problem. Matter of fact, it's going to make the problem bigger, especially in the situation we're in now. They're going to use everything they can to discredit us. You got a rough job.
And sir, I agree with Mr. Thompson, but just a couple of thoughts. The eyes don't lie. And in that, we have some catching up to do. This enemy we face now knows us much better than we know them. If you can use this information age, i.e. internet, and search for ancient Arabic proverbs, it may help you get into the minds of your enemy. You have to know your enemy, and you cannot underestimate him. And proverbs have been around for thousands of years in this culture. There may be something there. It's worth a shot.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, both of you demonstrated a great ethical instinct that day. I was wondering if there's maybe any particular experience or influence on you growing up that you feel instilled that in you.
I was brought up in the South, and my parents were very strict. By today's standards, they would probably be child abusers. I don't think it hurt me that much. They did believe in double jeopardy, or didn't know what that meant, because if I do something wrong, my mama would get a hold of me, and Daddy would always ask her, how was he today? Well, he's a bad boy. Well, here he comes again. And Dad had a little bit more force than Mother did. They just taught me to treat other people, like you would want to be treated. I guess the golden rule. Always taught me to stand up for the against the bully, stand up for the underdog. Just, real basic way I was brought up. But I think it probably helped me and probably developed me quite a bit on how I feel about treating, other people.
Catholic school, altar boy, 4 years of Latin, mom and dad. Dad told me when I was very young that you never judge anyone by the way they look or where they're from or what their beliefs are. You judge a person by what's in their heart.
Hugh, when you were flying over that village and you first saw things that really bothered you, would you talk a little bit about what was going through your mind as you were trying to figure out what was going on down on the ground? What is it that we're seeing?
Yes, sir. I guess the first thing I thought was something's wrong here. We hadn't received any fire. We hadn't taken any casualties. But there was a whole lot of pain and suffering that had gone on. There was over 125 people, I think, murdered that day under the age of 5. So you start questioning in your mind, how did this happen? And I went into denial, at first wouldn't admit what I thought had gone on, because I was part of it. These are Americans doing this. I'm an American. My job is to protect my fellow Americans. So I looked for ways to justify what had happened, like the artillery had taken them out. And, you just ran it around your mind a couple of times, and things kept happening that we finally had to admit that these people were marched out, hands in the air, tears on their cheeks, told to kneel down in the ditch while machine guns are being set up. And I would have been a lot more angry if I'd have known exactly what happened did I know what happened now. Because not only were about 120 of them made to kneel down, they were told to stand up and turn around because the people couldn't look them in the eyes as they machine gunned them down. Those that were in the ditch were the lucky people. There was a lot of evil going on that day that we didn't know about. If we would have known about it, we might have even opened up ourselves. Because there's just animals. These were not soldiers. These were very much animals and doing some bad things to people.
Combat is chaotic. Combat is primal. And something surfaces in you, especially when you see people close to you fall. And it's very difficult to control. Your job as young officers is to monitor those men who are pulling the trigger, to make sure that that primal instinct, you have to keep it in check somehow. It's necessary, yet if it becomes out of control, your whole operation is going to become out of control. So it's something from 1,000, 10,000 years ago that it's hard to explain. I can, in a way, identify with the men on the ground that day in that they wanted revenge. I've lost people close to me, and your first gut reaction is, I'm going to kill somebody. But make it a worthy opponent, not an innocent civilian.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, what were your reactions to the recent prisoner abuse scandal in Iraq, and do you think the right people were punished for their actions?
Whoa, touchy subject.
I have a real problem with what happened in Iraq. For some reason, a lot of people got interested in calling Larry and I want to know our opinions on it, and our opinions are strictly opinions because I don't have the facts. I don't know what went on. I have a great problem looking at some of the pictures and noticing in the eyes, as Larry said, there's no guilt, there's no worry, there's no sorrow. And I know they've been trained. And it looks like to me the person's doing it, hey, thought this is what they were supposed to do. The person in command is not always in charge, especially when you got not necessarily a joint service operation. What do they call that now?
Other government agencies.
Other government agencies involved could play a role. I don't know if we'll ever know. Some of our government agencies, which we need, I assume, have a little different role than the military. We're defined on what we can do and cannot do, very, very fine line. Some of these other agencies don't have that same responsibility. The military cannot court-martial these other agencies. So we'll have to wait and see after it's all over with to, see what was actually done. I don't think all the truth is out. I think they're going to, I just heard on the news tonight that made me angry. In a way, it made me, I heard a lot of stuff on the news that made me angry. They're going after some more people. I don't know who they are. There's been some people killed, so there's going to be some more court-martials. General Pierce in My Lai recommended court-martial proceeding against 34 people.